So with the Eagles seemingly set to make a flurry of roster moves ahead of their Super Bowl rematch with the Chiefs, they apparently just missed out on adding this former Pro Bowl linebacker who could have helped add to their depleted linebacker room, although it does seem like the Eagles could have already found a hidden gem at that position. Meanwhile, it seems like offensive coordinator Brian Johnson and the Eagles offense could have completely fixed one of their biggest issues this year as they made one major improvement, but how far will this improvement go in helping the Eagles pull out the win against the Chiefs and Andy Reid, who has a huge advantage heading into this game? We're going to talk all about that and more news in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So to end off the bye week, several Eagles players participated in a charity event for Big Brothers Big Sisters Independence, more specifically a fashion show where a few different Eagles actually walked the runway, including cornerbacks Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Josh Jobe, and running back Boston Scott.
There you go, B. Scott. I see.
So it was definitely cool of all those guys to do that to help raise money to end off their bye week. Meanwhile, it seems like AJ Brown was up to something different during his bye week as he shared some pictures on Instagram of him in the gym boxing, so it certainly seems like he's ready for the post-bye week stretch that the Eagles got. And now that the bye week is officially over, the Eagles have to fully turn their attention to the Kansas City Chiefs, where they're no doubt going to have a very tough test and going up against not just what many would consider the best quarterback in the game in Patrick Mahomes, but also they got to face one of the best coaches of all time, who they know all too well in Andy Reid, otherwise known as Big Red, who of course has been a coach for both teams in this matchup and had tremendous success with both, but since becoming the head coach of the Chiefs, he has yet to lose to his former team, so the Eagles will be looking to finally hand him that first L to the Birds in his career, but it definitely won't be easy as historically, it seems like Big Red has an advantage coming out of bye weeks as he is 21-3 after byes during the regular season in his career as a head coach, so he definitely seems to have the secret sauce to being successful in this exact situation. And Nick Sirianni has also been successful after byes as well, as in his 2 full seasons as head coach, he is 2-0 after the bye week, but going up against Reid, who has had this much sustained success after the bye, is definitely a tough matchup. But the good news is Sirianni may have Reid's secrets, as back in 2022 he reached out to Big Red and asked him how he navigates the bye week every year, and Andy then shared his bye week routine with Nick, and Sirianni followed it down to apparently an annual New York City trip with his wife. So now the two will meet up after both just had their bye weeks, and it'll be really interesting to see if Sirianni can hand Reid just his 4th loss of his head coaching career in this situation. But before we can even get to this game, the Eagles have a lot of roster decisions to make, because with several players returning from IR this week, the Eagles got to create a few roster spots to bring these guys back onto the active roster. Now the players expected to return are right guard Cam Jurgens, who should come back and give an immediate boost to the Eagles run game like I talked about in yesterday's video. Then you have wide receiver Quez Watkins, who will try and come back in and make an impact in Dallas Goedert's absence after a really slow start to the season. And then safety Justin Evans, who was once a starter for this team but now will come back and play a smaller role for the defense with the addition of Kevin Byard. Now the expectation is that Dallas Goedert will move to IR with his forearm fracture, and Nakobe Dean will also go there as well with his Lisfranc sprain. So that's 2 open spots right there that the Eagles could create, but they still are going to have to create another to be able to bring all these guys back. Now the Eagles have actually went ahead and made a roster move already, adding center Ross Piersbacher to the practice squad, and this is just another good depth addition. I mean, Piersbacher is a former Alabama player, and he's been with the Eagles before, and after the Eagles lost some backup offensive linemen off the practice squad recently, they decided to go out and bring him in to add depth, so nothing crazy, but definitely a smart move there. And to add him, they cut cornerback Kindle Vildor off the practice squad, who they had just signed back in late October. Now, in addition to making this move, it seems like more changes could be on the way, as the Eagles worked out several players on Monday, including guard Andrew Norwell, who was once a big name and a good guard for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but now later in his career, he's not what he once was, and the Eagles are just certainly looking to add him for depth to the offensive line, much like with the addition of Ross. Now, they also worked out O-lineman Lecitus Smith, who was drafted by the Cardinals back in 2022, and then he spent some time on the Texans practice squad this year, and again, with the Eagles losing 3 linemen off the practice squad in recent weeks, this would be another good addition to replenish some of that depth. And then moving on, the Eagles also worked out tight end Noah Togiai, who was a familiar face as the Eagles signed him as an undrafted free agent in 2020, and then he spent some time with the team throughout that season, and then after a brief stint with the Colts, he came back to Philly in 2021 and was on the practice squad in 2022, so with Dallas Goedert out a decent amount of time, it'd be nice to add depth at tight end with someone who's been here before. But at the linebacker position, the Eagles may have tried a different strategy to add depth there, with Nakobe Dean out for a long period of time, as they brought in a rather big name and former Pro Bowler for a workout, and it looked like for a second they could have been on the verge of signing him before things took a turn. So we're going to talk about that and more in just a minute here, but real quick, I have to say, if you are enjoying this video or finding it informative in any way, make sure you go down right now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Around 75% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, and again, you don't want to miss any more videos just like this coming throughout the rest of the season, make sure you go down, fix that right now, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now with that being said, let's get back into the video. So in addition to the other three guys, the Eagles also brought in four-time Pro Bowl linebacker Anthony Barr for a workout on Monday, who obviously had spent the majority of his career with the Vikings before coming to the Cowboys for just one season in 2022. Now Barr's definitely not the player that he once was with the Vikings, as the 6'5" linebacker made 4 Pro Bowls, his last being in 2018, but now at this stage in his career, he has clearly declined. Last year, he ranked 52nd out of 90 off-ball linebackers by PFF, and he allowed a 101.4 passer rating, so he's definitely not elite anymore, but he still definitely does have the ability to contribute, even if it's not at a super high level. And with Nakobe Dean out, I thought that adding Barr could be a nice addition to the team. Unfortunately, I guess it just wasn't meant to be, as after working out with the Eagles, Barr decided to turn right around and sign back with his former team, the Minnesota Vikings, as they signed him to replace former Eagle Jordan Hicks, who just underwent shin surgery. So definitely a kind of tough break for the Birds, who definitely could have used a guy like Barr in their linebacker room, but it's not the end of the world, and I'm sure Howie's going to be able to find another way to add depth at that position. And on the bright side, the Eagles may actually already have a hidden gem at that position as well, with linebacker Cunningham playing above everybody's expectations this season, as the 28-year-old has started all 9 games for the Eagles, and he's played well, sitting just behind Reid as the team's second leading tackler with 54, and he also has 2 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended, and a fumble recovery on the season. I mean, I've certainly been pleasantly surprised with Cunningham, and apparently so is Eagles beat writer Chris Franklin, who in an appearance on Jacob Sports said, quote, "I think Cunningham is the best linebacker this team has had in the past couple of years." So what do you guys think? Do you agree with that statement? I personally think Cunningham has been great, although I don't know if I'd say he's been the best linebacker the Eagles have had over the past couple of years. I thought TJ Edwards was pretty good, but I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Now moving over to the offensive side of the ball, the Eagles are going to have their hands full in this matchup with the Chiefs defense because they've been playing lights out all year. Luckily, the Birds offense has been amazing as well, as they've been one of the best groups in the NFL, ranking top 5 in both yards and points per game. And this is really pretty impressive, especially since the Eagles have a new offensive coordinator this year in Brian Johnson, who has been heavily criticized throughout the year, including by myself, because the offense definitely has had some issues, whether it be turnovers or the run game at times, or bad play calling especially. Coach Johnson has taken a lot of heat, and another problem that the offense had earlier in the year that Brian Johnson was really heavily criticized for was the red zone offense, as it seemed like early in the season, the Eagles were able to move the ball, but once they got to the red zone, they stalled out quite a bit, and there was a time where they ranked as one of the worst red zone offenses in the entire NFL. But now at this point, that has changed, with the Birds' red zone offense currently sitting at number 12 on the year, which shows the drastic improvements they've been able to make in that area. I mean, we all know how crucial the red zone is. You gotta cap off drives by getting touchdowns instead of field goals, and the Eagles made it a point to fix that, and they certainly have, so huge credit to Brian Johnson for making that improvement. And the Eagles are going to need to continue to cap off drives with touchdowns in their upcoming game versus this tough Chiefs team. I mean, we all know this Super Bowl rematch is going to be a battle, and getting those points down in that area is going to be crucial to the Eagles winning this game. And like I've said before, getting this win would be absolutely huge for the Eagles. One, because it would be a statement game on national television versus one of the best teams in the NFL, and I think then you would start to see the Eagles getting more of the respect that they actually deserve. But also, it'd be the perfect start to this gauntlet of the Eagles schedule, so if you don't want to miss any more coverage leading into that game, make sure you go down, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Also, drop a like down below if you did enjoy this video and want to show some support, and leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And also, if you want to watch another video talking about Brandon Graham's plans to trash talk Travis Kelce, as well as a huge trade that the Eagles almost made at the deadline, you can go check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.